Coming up, I share the highs and lows of owning a Leica MP. Things didn't quite go as planned. I took this camera to Poland and it jammed up on the first roll of film. My nice camera seems to be jammed. Can't rewind my first roll of film. I'm in Gdansk in the fog and I can't take any film photos. MP. Mega pricey, not mechanical perfection. Sadly. Maybe I got a bad one, but I bought it from a shop so I can return it under warranty. But yeah, I was kind of hoping for better, to be honest. Join me as we head to Poland and I'll share lots more information about the Leica MP. Hey guys, Matt here from MrLeica.com. So as you saw from the intro, things didn't quite go as planned. I will explain as we get into the video. First, let's take a close look at the Leica MP, and I have my gloves ready. Okay, so first up, what is a Leica MP? This is a 35mm rangefinder film camera, first released in 2003 and still in production in 2024. As you can see, mine's still got the plastic on. It's a reasonably clean copy and I bought it used from Park Cameras in the UK. Shout out to Park Cameras, I can put a link below. Like my M2 and my M3, it's got the single piece film advance and the automated frame counter. It's got the 1:1000 shutter speed and bulb option, and it's got MP engraved on the top plate. It's also got Leica engraved on the top plate and the old style film rewind knob, the same as on the M2 and the M3. It's got the 0.72 viewfinder and it's multi-coated so you don't get any kind of ghosting, and it's got the old style frame lever but no self timer because it's got the battery cap instead. This camera has got a built-in light meter, so you need to remember to turn it to bulb or off mode when not using the camera to not drain the battery, and you set your ISO on the back of the camera so the light meter gives you the correct reading. Once you open the bottom plate, the same as on other M cameras, you'll see that unlike the M2 and the M3, this has got the quick load design, the same as say the M4P and the M6. And it's got a cloth shutter, the same as the other cameras, and no holes in it, unlike my M3. And for those of you that ask in the comments, let's do a quick wristwatch check. Now I often get comments asking what watch I'm wearing, so I thought I'd feature it in this video. This is a Seiko Presage Cocktail Time Blue Moon Midnight version. It's a automatic mechanical watch, which means it's self-winding, no batteries, and I love the mechanicalness like M cameras. If you love mechanical cameras such as the Leica MP, M2, M3, there's a huge chance you also like full mechanical watches. You often see nice watches paired with Leica M cameras, so I thought I'd do some photos including both the watch and the camera. I had great fun taking these pictures. They're actually shot with a Micro Four Thirds camera to allow me to get close enough with enough depth of field, perhaps something I'll do in another video. Comment below what is your favourite mechanical watch, and maybe I'll do more on watches in future videos. Okay, let's head over to Poland and check some of the example photos. Okay, Poland. So I flew to Gdansk and we woke up to fog on the first morning. Actually, I was there to meet Thomas, one of my patrons. We did a workshop one day and then we just hung out the rest of the time shooting film. We went to the docks, which is one area I always go to for a morning run, and so I know it pretty well. And the fog just made everything look extra amazing. There seems to be less of these robots there every year as the people, maybe tourists, take bits off them. But this kind of little pier thing looks especially good in the fog. In terms of the camera setup, I was using a Typoc 50 Eureka f2 lens, shot at f4 for that shot, as you can see. And I'm using the Cine Ilford FP4 film, which I mentioned in a previous video. So this is kind of 90s Cine film made by Ilford. And so you're going to get slightly more grain than you would do from fresh film. Thomas was shooting HP5 in his Hasselblad 500 with an 8mm lens. So yeah, he was my model for some of my pictures. I realised I've preferred to take photos of cameras and people than I do of nothingness, but some of these things in the fog also look pretty nice. This is just one of the boats moored up next to the industry bit, and then after that we headed into the main docks to see what else we could find. Everything was going so well. I was loving the MP. Very smooth, very nice to look through. It's kind of got a cleaner viewfinder than perhaps my older M cameras, because it's got maybe more contrast and slightly brighter, being a much newer camera. Thomas lent me his 8-element Leica lens with goggles, so I tried that for a few shots on the MP, but then I think I quickly swapped back to the Typoc so he could have his lens back. This bit I thought was particularly striking in the fog, and so I was keen to get a few photos with the Leica MP. You can roughly see through the viewfinder. Sorry, I was trying to do it with my iPhone. Everything was going so well. We even had a couple walk past, and that made this shot, which I'm really kind of pleased with for a snapshot. Everything was kind of coming to the peak. Everything was really good. Super happy, really enjoying every minute. Then I went to advance my frame and my camera jammed up. And so I was like, oh, no problem. Must be the end of the roll. I'll rewind it. And I couldn't rewind it either. Here you can see me fighting with the camera, as you saw in a similar clip in the intro. And I've been shooting Leica film cameras for 10 years, so I've got a rough idea of what should happen and what should not happen. And it seemed like the film had jammed when it got to the end of the roll, meaning I couldn't rewind it. Luckily, I slept on it, and when I woke up, I realised I just needed to unload the film in a dark bathroom and then reload it, and then that fixed the issue. So Leica MP cameras are still great. I have no problems with MP cameras. What had happened was the film had gone past the end, and so then the tag on the end of the film had jammed it, stopping it from going back into the canister, so I couldn't rewind it. Luckily, because I shot film for a while, I knew that if I just pulled the film out in a dark place, i.e. the dark bathroom at night, that should hopefully fix it, and it did. So yeah, we're back on track. So day 2, sadly no fog, but back to taking pictures. You can see I'm using a yellow filter for quite a few of these photos to get a bit more definition in the sky. I had Thomas as my model again. He's using an SL for a lot of his photos, in addition to his M3 and Hasselblad film cameras. I might have to feature Thomas in one of my future videos to share some of the stuff that he uses. We also had models booked, so this was one of the first models we had. I was shooting digital with the M262, which you may have seen in the previous video, as well as film with my MP. I was also helping Thomas, so it was kind of a bit of everything. Thomas was using his Hasselblad, so I was trying to do some behind the scenes just to show the action shots. We're really lucky with the weather, as you can see, so we've got proper kind of directional light on the model's face. I was doing a bit of playing around with depth of field, as you can see in these photos. And then being in Gdansk, I thought I'd do a few touristy shots. It was October, so there was just pumpkins everywhere. I was shooting these photos maybe f4, f5.6 on the Typoc 50 f2 Eureka to try to get a bit more sharpness and like the maximum performance from the film. Later in the day, we had another model shoot. I was using flash for this, so I did some film photos with flash, but I was mostly shooting digital. Here's a couple of examples. We actually shot with this model twice, so some of the clips you're seeing are from different days to the days I took the pictures, which is why her hair looks different for any with a keen eye. Okay, day 3 with the MP and the third roll of film. So back to the docks. Sadly, it wasn't quite as foggy, but I still like capturing all the old stuff before it all gets demolished. I got close enough to see one of the boats in the shipyard, or the ships, and so first I tried to shoot it with a 50mm, and it looked like that. And then I thought it might be nice if we could get a bit closer, so I switched to a 90mm Elmar f4 screw mount lens, again with a yellow filter attached. You just use a LTM to M adapter, and then these photos are shot with a 90mm lens at f4 because I was shooting at ISO 50. So you keep the camera stirring, you find at a 60th of a second, and if the sun comes out, you can obviously stop down. This is the walk now back towards the apartment. In the background, I wanted to get Thomas next to these old buildings before they get converted to apartment blocks. I did shoot models here maybe 10 to 15 years ago when I first discovered Poland, and so it's kind of a special place in my heart, remembering these places now sadly all boarded up, so we couldn't get any closer than shooting through a gap in the fence, as you can see. If you can sneak through there, as you can see the old buildings. So good for shooting models with in the past when you could actually access them. Found a disused caravan, so rainy day style. Took a couple of pictures in the end of the daylight. Sadly, it was then time to fly back to London, so I had a few frames left, so I shot those out the window on the train home, going from Gdansk to the Gdansk airport. If you've ever visited, comment below if you visited. I really like the forest in Gdansk, and there you can see the train just as got to the airport. Now, what I didn't tell you was, before I went to Gdansk, I flew into Bydgoszcz, which is a city I used to work in when I used to work as an auditor and accountant before doing YouTube full time. They also had fog there. I was shooting again with the 50mm and the 90mm on the MP, mostly around f4 to get a bit more sharpness, and it wasn't all trains. So we started off with trains in the fog because I had no models. I revisited this location to shoot film because I had shot here with a model on the previous day. And then annoyingly, my best photos actually with my iPhone, because I went for a run one day in the forest. I didn't take my Bonnet camera, which is my usual running camera, and the MP is a little bit too big to run with for me if I'm going like super light. I felt like a proper Polish person with all these mushrooms, and I love capturing the difference between nature and the human remains, and the difference between kind of the old buildings being knocked down and the new buildings taking over. I was also shooting models in Bydgoszcz, and I was using this camera with flash as well as the digital cameras, the M6 and the Hasselblad H3D39, as you can see here. I did shoot mostly digital with these models, but I did get a couple of film photos so you can see them. Link below to my model photography ebook if you're interested. And yeah, here you can see another couple of setups. This is all shooting flash for the Gdansk AD100. Now, I'm sure some of you will be asking, hey Matt, can you do a comparison between the MP, the M2, the M3, or perhaps the M6? I will do additional videos. Hit subscribe so not to miss those. If you enjoyed this video, please smash the like button. And as always, a huge thanks to my awesome patrons.